Hey, Chris Norris here from Korg USA. I'm here to talk about the Korg Music Scene Beat Club Lab. Congrats on getting the program started at your library. There's a lot of components involved, and today we're going to break down each component and we're going to talk about how to get it set up so you can start making some music. The first components we'll talk about is the Lucas Nano PA system. This has these satellite speakers left and right, and the mixer, the Mackie mixer, plugs into that. Next up we have the Chaos Pad 3. The K-oscillators and mini Chaos pads. Then the keyboards are the tactiles or the Triton tactiles. And those are the main components of the lab, but there's also a lot of cables involved that you need to hook them up. So first off, I'll talk about the different types of cables that are involved. First up, we'll talk about the 1/4-inch cables. These look like guitar cables that you'd see to plug a guitar into an amp. We also have a few 1/8-inch cables. Those look like regular headphone cables. Next up we have USB cables that you'd see for a computer or a printer. Then we have RCA cables. These look like the component cables that you'd plug into an old school TV. The last type of cable we have is the XLR cable. These are for microphones, and there's two different types. One end goes into the mic and one end goes into the mixer. We'll get more into that later. So the first step to setting your Beat Club Lab up is setting up the PA system. After you plug it into the power source, what you want to do is plug in these speakers. You're going to find 1/4-inch cables that'll be with the PA system, and these are the speaker cables. There'll be two of them, one for each speaker. These are a little bit thicker than your average 1/4-inch cable because they're speaker cables. Those will be plugged in the back of the Lucas Nano, one for the left. The shorter cable goes right up here. So now that your speakers are set up, the next thing you're going to want to do is plug in the mixer into the PA system. For that, what you're going to need is the dual 1/4-inch cable. It's going to have 2 1/4 inches on each side. Now, if you notice, there's two different colors, red and white. Just in general, we're always going to plug red into the right side of each cable and the other color into the left. Red goes into right, white goes into left. And now your mixer is plugged into your PA system. This knob here controls your overall volume that's coming out of the speakers. This knob here controls the tone. The more you move it to the left, it'll get a little bit warmer and darker kind of sounding. And then as you move it to the right, it'll get brighter and edgier. This switch here controls the line level. Just keep it to the right where the little picture of the mixer is. Now your PA system will receive a signal from the mixer. Now we'll take a minute to talk about the Mackie mixer. There's a lot of controls and knobs on here, but once you learn what one strip of these does, you learn what all the rest of them do. Basically, each one of these is a channel that you can plug an instrument into. Down here you have your volume. Here's your pan, which means if it's going all the way to the left speaker, all the way to the right speaker, or right in the middle. These three are your EQ, which make changes to the overall sound, but generally we keep those all right in the middle. Here we have our auxiliary. We'll get to more of that later when we start talking about the Chaos Pad. Then up here we have our inputs. There's two types of inputs. We have XLR inputs, which we'll be plugging our microphones into, and 1/4-inch inputs, which our instruments will be plugging into. And last we have our overall mix. This controls the volume of all the channels, so if you want to mute everything, turn that all the way to the left. To hook up our K-oscillators and mini Chaos pads, we have two different cables, the 1/8-inch to 1/8-inch and the 1/8-inch to dual 1/4-inch. You're going to plug the 1/8-inch cable into the headphone jack on the K-oscillator. And that same cable is going to lead to the line in on the Chaos Pad. So to connect the mini Chaos Pad into the mixer, you're going to find the cable that has an 1/8-inch cable on one end and 2 1/4-inch cables on the other end. You're going to plug the 1/8-inch into the headphone jack of the red mini Chaos Pad. And then you're going to take the 2 1/4-inch cables and you're going to plug them into a dual input here on the mixer. Again, red for right, and in this case it's blue on the left. Now that the K-oscillator and the Chaos Pad are hooked up for each student station, the next step is going to be hooking up the tactiles. To hook up these, there's two different types of tactiles. There's the regular tactile and the Triton tactile. If you have the regular tactiles, what you'll need to do is take a USB cable, and you're going to plug one end into the tactile, and the other end is going to go into your computer. As soon as you plug it into the computer, the tactile will power on. So now that the tactile is connected to the computer, we're going to take the sound from the computer and go into the mixer. For that, we're going to use the same cable we used before, the one with an 1/8 inch on one end and dual 1/4 inch on the other end. So take the 1/8 inch and plug it into the headphone jack of your computer, and then the dual 1/4 inch will go to the mixer. So now we'll hear that the sounds we play on the keyboard are going into the computer, then into the mixer, and then out to the PA system. Now, if you have a Triton tactile, you can bypass the computer. You still can plug it into the computer, but it'll also work on its own. It has built-in sounds. So in that case, all you'd need to do is plug the 1/8 inch jack directly into the tactile, and then from there into the mixer. And now this tactile will boot up, and there we go, we have sounds. So we have the regular tactile hooked up into the computer, and the Triton tactile being played on its own. All right, the next step is going to be to hook up the Chaos Pad. The trainer who's going to be leading the Beat Club class will be using this to apply effects and loops and different sound effects to the overall mix of all the instruments together. So the way we do that is something called auxiliary input on the mixer. Auxiliary input basically means everything in the mixer that's getting plugged in gets routed into this auxiliary signal and then comes back into the mixer and then goes out to the PA system. So to hook this up, there's something on the mixer that you'll see, and it is called auxiliary send. Now that has a single 1/4 inch on the mixer, so you're going to find a cable that has a single 1/4 inch on one end and dual RCA inputs on the other. So this is a single 1/4 inch, and you're going to plug it into the auxiliary send 1. Then you're going to take the dual RCA cables, and those are going to go into the line in on the Chaos Pad. Now we have the line in set up. We need to go out from the Chaos Pad back into the mixer. So for that, we are going to find a cable that has 2 RCA on one end and 2 1/4 inch on the other. So you're going to go into the line out, and both of the 1/4 inch are going to come back to the mixer where it says stereo returns. It's going to be, again, red is right, white is left. Now the Chaos Pad is hooked up, so anything we play on these instruments, we can affect with the different filters and effects and synths and sweeps that the Chaos Pad has. Next up, we're going to hook up the microphone. This has an XLR cable, which has 2 different ends. One end you plug right into the mic, and the other end goes into the mixer. So now that the microphone's hooked up, we can apply the same effects that we apply to any other channel. Check, 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 check. You get some pretty wild sounds with this stuff. So now that you've got everything set up, you're ready to start making music with your Korg Music Scene Beat Club Lab. If you have any questions, feel free to check out korgeducation.com or leave a comment for us on our YouTube channel. Thanks.